Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Katrina Ness, Vanessa Collins, and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings, Vanessa Collins, and Katrina Ness.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable's After Dark show. I'm Katrina Ness, joined by Vanessa Collins and Ted Ings. And tonight, we have a new face to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have Brian Boy, who is the co-founder of RunBuggy. So, Brian, thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Brian, we look forward to getting to know more about you and about RunBuggy. A good friend of ours, Katrina Rebecca Chernick, said she's coming tonight to see Rene on the show. And I said, wait a minute. Rene's not coming tonight, but he's sending somebody, he said, that can hold down the fort. And Brian, we've heard a lot of great things about you. So congratulations on all the success you're having.
Well, thank you. Well, hopefully I can succeed in this.
There you go. Brian, dive into a little bit how you got connected with us tonight, and tell us a little bit about you, and for those that are wanting to know what RunBuggy does.
So I got connected with you tonight a little bit last minute. I got a phone call about an hour and a half ago saying, hey, could you go on the show and talk about RunBuggy? I made a mistake with the time change and I happened to be on site with a customer. And I said, yeah, no problem. So I quickly watched a little bit of video and tried to see what you guys were about, and looked like everything automotive. So that's kind of where I came from, and prior to starting our company. So a little bit about me. I'm from the Youngstown, Ohio area. I started off in the car business. Let's see, after college, I worked at a bank, and I hated it. It was terrible. It was boring. You didn't really do anything all day. You know, same thing over and over and over. And I didn't make any money whatsoever. There was a brand new Saturn dealership starting in our area, and my uncle said, why don't you go over there and talk to them? So I did. I got a job selling cars. I think I made more money in 3 months than I made in the prior year at a bank. And wow. I was hooked. The car business has a special place in my heart. I sold cars there with my future mother-in-law. So that's how I met my wife.
Wow.
Everything kind of snowballed from there. My wife, she had a job with U.S. Customs in San Diego. So I left Ohio, went to San Diego, got back into the car business. It's where I ended up meeting my co-founders in RunBuggy. In the car business, you meet lots and lots of people, especially in the Southern California market. People tend to bounce around quite a bit over there. So Mark, who's my co-founder, and I hooked up together, started going through the ranks at dealerships together. And then I left to try to get closer to home. I ended up moving out of the country to Vancouver, British Columbia, which is a beautiful, beautiful city. Had an awesome time, but I wasn't really working that much. So I had the opportunity to explore some ideas. We talk frequently about different businesses we can do. And we sort of stumbled upon applying this two-sided marketplace model, which is like an Uber or an Airbnb style model, where the software is the platform in the middle of a transaction, and you're matching supply and demand. So in our case, it's somebody that needs to move a car, could be anybody, and then professional car haulers, vetted guys with DOT licenses and insurance, and big trucks and flatbeds and tow trucks and any means necessary. On the other side, we looked all around. Nobody was really doing it in the way that we wanted to do it. So we got a little bit of friends and family money. We built an MVP, supposed to take, I forget what they originally quoted us, like 8 or 12 weeks. They said they could get it done. It took about a year. Major headache. We were working with a team out of India, so it was really late at night. We'd be on the phone, and then we'd wake up in the morning and get on the phone again and see that they built something that had nothing to do with the conversation we had the night before and had to start over again. So eventually we got this thing to market about a year after that. And I actually had the first bill of lading on the wall behind me. And that was our goal, just, one car on one truck. That's what we needed to do. Get it going. We did that. We then proceeded to do what I refer to as the startup grind. So if you guys listen to any podcasts or research anything about startups, all the trials and tribulations and being broke every single day and robbing Peter to pay Paul, just grinding it out. If you hear the cliche, we did it. I sold my car to make payroll one time. I think Mark won payroll at an Indian casino. So
he put it on black.
He put it on black and won it one time. So we did that for about a year and a half. But as we were doing that, we were continuing to grow the business. There was demand there. We got the attention of a fantastic partner and our initial investor in the late 2018. We partnered with them, and then it was just off to the races. We got an awesome CEO, Kevin Malik. He did a fantastic job of scaling the company. We went from, I think, about 6 employees to now we're around 175. We cover all 50 states. We're in Canada. We work with the biggest names in automotive, all the OEMs, all the captive lenders. Most of the non-captive lenders are working with us. We're kicking off tomorrow. Super excited with, we'll be on Ally Smart Auction. We're getting into finished vehicle logistics now. We're going to be moving, the cars out of the ports and the factories. And, I couldn't be happier with how far we've come. And it's super exciting.
So, Brian, the company is called RunBuggy. Is that correct?
The company is called RunBuggy. Yep.
Okay. You mentioned Saturn earlier. I want to ask the ladies, Vanessa and Katrina, have you heard of Saturn? Because this goes back a couple of years. And if so, what have you heard? It was a car company. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I know it was a car company, and I know, like many others, it has gone under, and now you only see older vehicles driving around that are Saturns. But if I couldn't even describe one to you, and I don't know why it went under.
Well, it was not so much the car, but Brian, stay with me on this. Mm-hmm. It was the process of buying the vehicle that was unique and the way that they marketed it. And I don't know how much of that you want to share, but it was pretty novel for its time.
Yeah, so it actually started off. There's a factory in Tennessee. It was a General Motors product, and it did start off as a unique vehicle. So they had their own pretty unique lineup. If you remember that, Ted, remember they were like plastic bodies.
Yeah.
You could smack them in the side with like a baseball bat. They wouldn't dent. And they are almost unique all the way up. Towards the end, when I got involved, they fell but into the typical pattern of GM at that time, which was, you take another car from another line and you change a couple body panels and you slap a different emblem on it and you call it something different. And that's when I was there. So I don't think we really had too unique product at the time, but the sales model was there was no negotiating.
Here's the queen of F&I, Rebecca Chernick, and we called it, Katrina, one price, right?
Yep.
Brian, it was one price. You didn't negotiate. There was no haggle.
Nope.
None.
So I came from the town I'm in, and the town I was from. Well, I guess not so much anymore, but it was a General Motors town. So they built the Cavalier, then the Cobalt, and the Cruze here. So everybody had GMS pricing. So that was the only negotiation you can get. You can either pay sticker price, or you can get the GM employee pricing. Which a lot of people did around here. But yeah, there's one price for everybody. It was all purely a customer service play. So at the end, when I was doing it, Chevy down the road had the exact same vehicles, and we still outsold them at the time in our area just because of the superior customer service and the way we treated the people. Unfortunately, 2008 rolled around and the whole country's financial industry went into crisis, and General Motors went bankrupt, and Saturn hit the cutting room floor, and it was gone, along with Oldsmobile, and I don't remember if anybody else at that time.
Rebecca's in the chat, and she says she went to Tennessee for the class. She
Oh,
went
yeah.
skydiving, and so Brian, that training that they had at in Tennessee, that was unique because they did a lot of exercises that were new to the car business at the time, and I think that was one of them.
So all the older guys used to tell me about all the awesome stuff that Saturn used to do for them.
Spring Hill. Yep.
Yeah, Spring Hill, that's it. Yeah, they had all kinds of like team building events and on-site things. When I was there, they did bring in certain trainers and teach you the Saturn way and the
Yes.
culture. And I think it was way ahead of its time. But I also think that it gave me a leg up as I came up through that business, because as I came up, I brought all that initial training with me to every role that I was in, and it was always customer first. Show the product, find the need, don't try to squeeze them into everything. And I was very successful with that model versus some of the other ways I saw people sell.
Jim Sabino's in the chat. Jim, I think I heard you sold Saturns for Rain Maroon on Route 17. Let us know if that's true. And Sean is asking Sarah if Taylor's coming to the pop-up. That's the pop-up at Tully's place coming up soon as well. So a lot of friends in the chat tonight. Ashley Norton is here. Ashley, welcome. Great to see you. Sean Kingry's here. And a lot happening in our industry. So RunBuggy right now, I know a little bit about it. I've heard a little bit about it, but you basically have that marketplace to transport vehicles from A to B, and pretty much anybody can get involved with that, from what I hear.
Yeah, it could be anybody that needs to move a car, and we cover all areas of automobile transportation, whether it's a couple miles from an auction to a dealership, or from a repo yard to remarketing, or if it's 3,000 miles across the country. It doesn't really matter. We have you covered. We've got an extensive network. There's 20,000 plus transportation companies signed up on the network. The map is just full of dots everywhere of cars moving. I'd say one of the major differentiators is we built this as a technology platform first. We didn't have any preconceived things that you can't do it this way, you can't do this, you can't do that. We came at this with sort of fresh eyes. We came out of the dealer space. We knew we had problems moving cars.
Yes.
There was zero transparency. It was
None.
you go to your used car manager and you ask him if he knows how to move a car. We had a story real early on. I think we were both still in the car business, and it was, we were in Ontario, California, needed to sell a car. It was an Audi to a lady in Washington. Like, oh, how do we get it to her? Like, oh, go to used car manager. He gets some old business card out of his desk. It has a broker on it. How much is it going to be? $1,200. Okay, when are they going to be there? I don't know. A couple of weeks later, somebody shows up to pick up the car. It disappears for 10 days. Customers calling the whole time, all mad. We have no idea where it is. Finally arrives. We then find out that it's been double and triple brokered, stepped on. The guy that actually moved it got $400. The first guy took $400. He double brokered it to another guy, took $400. So one of the pillars we built this company on was, full transparency.
Okay.
You have visibility. Your customer has visibility. We do a ton of deliveries direct to consumer. We also give the consumer themselves a portal. They can watch it move across the map, just like you watch your Uber car coming to pick you up at the bar. You have pictures at pickup and delivery, and it just continues to grow. There's more and more reasons to move a car. People are trusting purchasing, sight unseen, and the more transparency and tech you can put around that, and more efficient it happens, the more your customers are happy, the more our customers are happy. And when our customers are happy, then we're happy.
So, Brian, I got to ask you a follow-up. During 5 years ago, when the industry changed, when the whole world changed, right? When dealerships were closed and you couldn't go to a lot of dealerships because they weren't a essential business. Did you see your business pick up during that time when people started buying cars online and shipping them all around the country?
It was scary for us. We were in the midst of scaling. We were growing this company. That was 2020. So it was 2 years after we really got our foot in the door and started getting going. I think we had our first major OEM customer captive lender start in January of that year. And then we're like, yeah, we're here, we're ready to rock and roll. And then, 2 months later, the whole world shuts down. So
Right.
Out of the gate, we were pretty concerned. Nobody knew what was going to happen or what was going on. It ended up being, it was bad for so many people. So I hate to say that it ended up being very good for us, but it did help. It helped a lot of people realize that there was zero technology in this space. We started a program with 2 OEMs out of the gate. We called it virtual grounding. We were picking up 10,000 lease returns a month out of people's driveways so that they didn't have to go to a dealership.
Yes.
We created a no-touch process to ground the vehicles.
Wow.
They picked them up. They dropped them off at auction. Nobody had to interact with each other, face to face. Customers didn't know. Certain states treated things much different than others. I happen to be in Indiana and Ohio, and our dealerships are open, and nobody really cared that much around here. But partners in California and other states, they shut them down.
We shut down. Yeah.
They weren't even open to turn in your lease. So we created this virtual grounding program, got a ton of goodwill with a couple of captive lenders. We're able to help a ton of people out. We're able to expose that, the legacy way of doing it and the incumbents basically completely shut down because they had offices full of people doing what our technology was doing by itself. So I hate to say this is bad for so many other people, but it was it was good for us in that aspect.
It's actually
very scary out of the gate, but then it really opened people's eyes that tech can do this, manual processes.
For Vanessa and Katrina, COVID actually accelerated technology in automotive by maybe 10 years and moved everything and compressed it quick, because things that we were not ready to do, we would have done eventually, all happened like in 6 months, and everybody got on board with, Brian, like you said, the touchless and all these ways.
Touchless and buying a car without seeing it. I felt like it accelerated. We worked with all of them at various times. Carvana, Vroom, and Shift were the big 3 online retailers, but I felt like it accelerated adoption there. I'd say the same thing to 10 years.
Do you, by the way, do you move cars from those companies? I don't know, you don't have to mention the names, but you mentioned some big names there. Do you also transport for a lot of these companies that do these remote sales only?
Yeah, we work with a lot of those companies. Not working, well, 2 of them are out of business. One of them is doing most of their, and the other one's doing most of their stuff internally. But we do a ton with large auto groups, direct to consumer. We work with your website providers and DMS backends to where we can install widgets that allow you to quote on the VDP page. So, right in the vehicle description, you can have a little box, put your zip code in, and we'll quote you without, harassing you for information. We'll tell you exactly what it is to get it to your door, or your customer to get it to their door. So full transparency. There's nothing to hide. There's no games. One of the challenges on the consumer level is that people put their information into the internet and then not realizing it's some sort of wacky lead aggregator that all of a sudden they're getting, 50 phone calls from people and trying to negotiate rates. Everything we do is completely upfront. If you want to quote on a vehicle, you're going to get it. The second you enter the information, you have the availability, or you have the entire quote in front of you, and it never changes.
Yeah.
That goes for the dealer, that goes for the captive, that goes for, grandma moving her car, that goes for Ted buying his Ferrari from California and shipping it to wherever you are now.
Yeah.
Brendan, I agree. So Brian, that's during that time is when we also built the Fixed Ops Roundtable, because what happened was we couldn't do our conferences in person anymore. We had to go online like this. And there were dealers that were closed all over the country. And I remember in April of 2020, I had a conversation with Vanessa. You'll know Brian Benstock. You interviewed him at Northwood.
Yes.
And I said, Brian, you've pioneered service pickup and delivery. We want to come see in Queens, New York, how you do it. And he said, Ted, we're shut down for 2 weeks. We shut the whole dealership down with COVID. We had to close for 2 weeks. And it was then that I realized, oh, geez. So Brian was one of the ones who said, put the Fixed Ops Roundtable online, because there's a lot of dealers looking for ideas right now, how to get through this and navigate, Brian, through this tough time. And that's what we did. And that was really how we got a lot of our growth, was during that time as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good to hear, that people, this is one of the most adaptive groups of people there is. It seems like car dealers and car dealerships and in this space, you can never get too comfortable, because they're always going to pull the rug out from under you and change the laws or change rules or change this, or there'll be a pandemic. But the people here are some of the most creative business people there are, and they always find a way to adapt.
Absolutely. And it's, incredible how so many businesses, and yours included, pivoted and implemented new processes and solutions to turn, what seemed to be horrible at first and ended up, being horrible, of course, but into, something good for your business and finding that new engine. And that leads me to kind of my next question is, are there any exciting technological advancements or features that RunBuggy is currently working on or planning to implement in 2025?
Yeah, so this is a really exciting time for the company. We had all these grand ideas when we first started of how this is going to end up. And slowly we just started implementing all the things that we wanted to do, which a lot of it in the beginning was like predictive and suggestive analytics around making sure that we were being efficient with what the market had to offer. So you've heard for many years that there's a trucking shortage in our industry, or in the transportation industry of auto. We don't feel like there's any shortage. It's a utilization problem. If you're driving around and you see, especially probably in the area where you're in Michigan, you'll probably see a ton, now that I pointed out, of empty car haulers, and there's empty spaces everywhere. And we've scaled to a point that we understand the efficiencies in the market and are able to predict where people are, where they're passing through, and who's the best to do a particular job. So we're being very proactive in saying, hey, Peter, the truck driver, we know you're going from, New York City to Columbus, Ohio. There's 6 more cars you could pick up in Manheim, Pennsylvania on your way if you want to make an extra $2,000. This is all automated and done with technology. Originally we thought it was going to be done with big data and machine learning, but we had this awesome innovation over the last couple of years with the large language models and OpenAI. RunBuggy announced our RunBuggy AI or RunBot at NADA. So this is an internal product we've been using for probably a little more than a year and a half now. But we have a fully developed large language model, conversational style AI internally, and we're rolling it out to the shippers themselves. So 24/7, you're going to be able to say, hey RunBot, or hey RunBuggy AI, or whatever we end up calling it, RunBot, I believe.
RunBot's cool.
Where's my car? it'll immediately spit out. How many cars did I ship last month? Oh, you shipped 27 cars. How many miles was that? 107,000 miles
Wow.
combined. How much I spent? How many of those cars were overweight? How many were non-op? Whatever you want to ask it, it will spit it out. We've been using this internally for quite a while. You ask it a question, who's the best to do a route from Florida to North Carolina, and it's going to give me 10 people. It's going to rank them based on their performance history, how well they use the app, how well they're tracked, how well they take the photos. It's going to put the best one first. And then I can also click a button, or actually we don't even have to click a button. It's going to reach out and tell the people that, there's availability in this area. So we're calling it actually implemented AI or AI.
Very good.
Because it turned into such a buzzword. Everybody pretends like they have it. We've got, I think 4 PhD data scientists that work directly on our team in the US and San Francisco. So our AI is real. It's not just a marketing tool.
Right.
Everybody that wants to demo, just reach out and I'll show you exactly how it works.
That's awesome. So how was your NADA experience? I know when Vanessa and I were there and walking around, a lot of, again, the buzzword was AI, I would say, from that week.
Seems like every year there's like another buzzword, but that one definitely hit hard. I wasn't there, unfortunately, this year. Our team was. I know there's a lot of logistical challenges with the freak snowstorm.
That's true.
People in the South struggle with a little bit of snow. I'm sure you guys are used to it if you're in Michigan.
We are
very used to it.
Yeah, not a big deal for you, but down there, then it wrecked everybody. But yeah, we had a great NADA.
Good.
Tons of connections, tons of opportunities. It's a wonderful place to meet people. It's a wonderful place to try to be humble and show off, what you actually have. We love showing it off. When we do our demos, it's in production. It's not some nonsense with slides. I take you right into the system and show you how it works.
Coming soon. Okay.
It's 100% live.
All right. We had a wonderful NADA also because while they were suffering with a lot of travel situations, we had our 4-day event running that week. And we had peak attendance on the 3rd and 4th day of our event right before that event in New Orleans from dealers who couldn't get there. And they got to experience the Fixed Ops Roundtable online. And Ashley Norton is right there. Where's my luggage? So,
where's my luggage? I mean, I think one of our guys hopped in a car and drove like 19 hours because his flight was canceled. It was
common, right?
There's a lot of challenges. But
the buzzword was you wouldn't believe how I got here.
I went the year before, and it was the same thing. There was a ground stop in Las Vegas because of wind and rain, and half the people jumped in their car and drove. The other half missed their flights and showed up late the next day. Seems like it's always a challenge.
Everybody coming up shortly here. We're almost in March, at the end of February right now. Coming up in just 2 weeks on March 12th, Fixed Ops Roundtable, we are traveling out to Sacramento. You've seen some of that in the chat already. We're going to be doing our pop-up event on Wednesday, March the 12th at the newest Porsche dealership in America. It is going to be the Nilo Porsche dealership, our pop-up event. You see Tully Williams and Sarah Van Tyne there. And we have an all-star cast. We have Vanessa, 30 panels that are going to happen on this day at the Nilo company, and that's coming up on March the 12th. So stay tuned. We're going to broadcast that on social media. That'll be our first pop-up of many this year. And then, of course, we have the big event. And Katrina, when is that? That's coming up in May, right?
It is coming up. It's coming up very fast. It'll be May 12th through the 15th, 9 a.m. to 4:30 Eastern Time. This is an all-virtual event, and you can get your complimentary tickets online right now at fixedopsroundtable.com.
Yep, we'll have a little over 170 speakers. I think 110 companies are involved with this event, and we have over 40 panels. So it's going to be a big event, 4 days, 32 hours long. It's our 28th Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's free, it's complimentary, best in the business, best produced show in the business, and everybody don't miss it. And that's coming up. It'll be here before we know it, all right? All systems go. Yeah, so. Brian, thank you.
Yeah, thanks
thank
for
you
having
telling us
me.
more about
I saw
RunBuggy.
a couple of people reach out. I'm not sure if the chat stays on here or not, but if anybody wants to get a hold of me, it's Brian, BRYAN, at runbuggy.com. And shoot me an email. I'll be happy to set up a meeting or send you some info and tell you more about it and do a deeper dive.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, and thank Rene also for us as well.
Yeah,
I think you did a way better job than he could ever have done, by the way. So,
of course.
And everybody, we'll be back on Monday night. We got 2 big shows next week, and then we're off to Sacramento. So, on behalf of Brian at RunBuggy, Vanessa Collins, and Katrina, I'm Ted Ings, and we'll see you back on Monday night.